According to the CSO, the name Arthur in 2024 was a baby name 119 times. There were 91 babies named Arthur in 2023 by comparison. So that's an increase of 28. We have a representative of the name with us this morning on the show. It's Arthur O'D. He's from Sligo. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, crucially not born in the last 2 years, but yeah.
But it's the same name.
Same name.
I have here.
Same name, yeah. Now, I wonder, is that every derivation of it like?
I looked at this. Took me a good portion of last night up to make sure that this is definitely correct.
But I wonder, like, because I suspect maybe it's just certain. It's common enough with Eastern European families, so maybe it's kind of a bit of a revival.
You get that Barcelona midfielder as well?
Yeah, there is. I think he was Brazilian. Yeah.
Google, name sports people with the initials DSN. I'm sorry, there are none. But how about DS Dan Sheehan? Yes, I will take that, Google, because the man to my left is a massive rugby fan. He goes one better as well. It's DSN. It's Dara Smith-Naughton. Good morning.
Right.
How are you?
Good morning, Colm. How's it going?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for asking. He played 2 times against New Zealand, twice against Japan, a couple of games against Australia, and had a pair of South African encounters that he won't forget. It's the former soccer goalkeeper and soccer striker. He'd make you question, what have you done in your life? It's a very own legend of the game. It's Alan Quinlan. He's back as the guest host. Good morning, Quinny.
Good morning to everybody tuning in. 4 in this morning. So
we're packed.
Loads of opinions.
Is right. So, big day, Quinny. Midday, the Republic of Ireland will find out who they're playing in the playoff next March, 26th of March. So we have either Poland, Wales, Slovakia or Czechia. And then at 2 p.m, both Ireland and South Africa will officially name their teams for the Aviva Stadium encounter. But, Quinny, all the papers this morning are going with the probable 15 that Andy Farrell will name. And it looks like Sam Prendergast is going to retain the number 10 jersey.
Yeah, it's. I'm surprised Rassie Erasmus didn't name his team early in the week. Sometimes he does. Most of the time he does that. They're both out at 2 o'clock. Usually this predicted team by the journalists is one that's... How do they know that? How do you predict it? They get to watch a bit of training. They hear whispers, rumours, players talk. So I'd heard that last night before I saw any online stuff. I heard that that's the direction they're going. I heard last week that it was going to be Jack Crowley that was starting against South Africa, that the players kind of, that's the decision for Australia and this is the decision for South Africa. He played really well, Sam Prendergast, and I think the attack probably looked really good. His kicking game was good. So they've obviously based it around that and said, okay, we're going to maybe be braver in this call and try and build on the attack scenario rather than worrying about what could happen defensively. We all know what South Africa will try and do. Mm-hmm. And look, it's not something that's completely new that you target an out half, and opposition out halves are never usually the strongest defenders. We've seen the trend bucked a few times over the years with Johnny Wilkinson.
Yeah.
Even I played against him. You run straight at him thinking it's a different scenario as opposed to some other out halves in that era. Dan Carter, probably the same. Johnny Sexton, probably not at the start of his career, but at the end he was wrapping up big back rows and props and second rows and loved the tackle up around the chest area, didn't he? He was going after the ball. It wasn't really a tackle technique per se as trying to chop the legs. So that's the one people will debate and talk about. And look, in some ways, you always try and think if you in any sport, if you have to tailor your game to the opposition in a sense, and you can't completely go, well, we're just going to ignore the personnel and the opposition team in any sport and pick our own team and stick to our own game plan. There has to be some tweaking, particularly when you're playing a powerhouse who are in unbelievably good form. They have a massive kind of feel-good factor about everything they do. So you have to tailor your game a little bit. But in some ways it's to be commended and could be a masterstroke in a sense of here's a statement saying we're focusing on attacking South Africa rather than containing South Africa. Sounds very, see, there's not this massive difference between Jack Crowley and Sam Prendergast when they play. This huge gulf of one is an attacking player and the other is not. Jack Crowley's attack has been good for Ireland. I think maybe the minute detail of speed of delivery, balance, slick hands, stuff like that, decision making has been the point of difference with Sam Prendergast when he's been on song. So yeah, it's kind of a statement selection in a sense of we're going to attack, we're going to stick to what we did well against Australia and try and build on that. And yeah, I'm a little bit surprised because I thought that, and I said it Monday morning, I thought it would go back to, because again, it sounds kind of crazy for both players. Whoever starts, like there's pluses and minuses for both selections. I think they're both still developing, even though Crowley's a few years older. So I think they came off the field against Australia, both would have had a good smile on their face and felt good, and it was good for Jack Crowley to come on, get the couple of kicks and be part of that surge at the end of the game for him. So they're both all about confidence here, and but Sam Prendergast he just has to. Again, it's something you're not going to fix in a week. I just don't think he's that aggressive. Like for Lenny Katau's try, it's a soak tackle and it's a try. So he has got to, in that situation, if he's going backwards, somehow wrap his legs, arms, any sort of his body around Ikatau there, and even if he goes over the line, hold him up. He needs a moment like that defensively to kind of. I know he had the hit in James O'Connor, which was something.
The game, yeah. Do you know why he's not physically the biggest at all, Sam Prendergast? He's 6'4". He's quite lean. Is that the defining factor in tackling? Because I presume your technique can override your physicality, can it, to an extent?
Yeah, well, a good technique if like you see in even an underage sport, smaller guy against bigger. In rugby, the small guy, if he's technically very good, he can chop down the bigger guys and stuff like that. So I do think he needs to get better technically, and there has to be some little bit of a spark that kind of ignites here. That it's like poking a quiet fella in a match, that they get a bit angry and suddenly they bring up the aggression levels. I don't know personally. Sometimes it's hard to coach desire and a little bit of niggle or nastiness in someone, but who knows. I think he'll know that Damien Dialende, the first chance he gets off the back of a line out, it'll be 9 straight to 12 with Dialende running down that channel if they can, or the South African loose forwards. But look, it is what it is, and I hope he goes brilliantly well, and I hope he gets, it's like anything, in the first tackle or two in a game, if you get one big one, the crowd will get behind him a little bit, but the players around him have got to protect him as well and make sure that they have give him good support around
Dara,
his defence.
you were a man who called for Prendergast starting between the Japan and Australia game. You predicted it. He retains his place. What are your thoughts?
I did expect, like when you were saying Crowley to start this game, I would have thought the plan was to just give Sam minutes, but Crowley...
We could be speculating here, because
it
doesn't happen often when this predicted team comes out. Sometimes there's, oh God, that's not the predicted team. There's actually a player or two different there. So
they could get it wrong. But
it's it's
in
usually,
all likelihood, though,
it's likely that
I would say Prendergast will start this game. I think it's very much a thing of this is planned before the window. I would have said they planned it out that, right.
I don't agree with you. I think
so?
No, I think what happened against Australia the other night, last Saturday, they're pleasantly surprised, and it's actually good for the coaching staff that he's played well. And as I said, Jack Crowley came on and did really well. So what you want in that situation is two guys who actually have a bit of a smile on their face and that bit of a spring in their step, rather than geez, I'm being scrutinised. I played before, and sometimes towards the latter part of your career, you're nearly looking at the sideline saying they're warming up. You're someone that it's a preordained decision to take someone off. And sometimes that can affect you, like in a negative way.
Do you think that's what they're doing though? That they're not married to 110 anymore. They're just like, right, we'll give the lads as equal minutes as we can.
Much prefer that one of them really, or even that one just grabbed hold of it, and the other player was actually coming on and doing really well. But look, as I said, I was involved for a long time with David Humphreys and Ronan O'Gara, where we didn't know as players who was going to be announced on the Monday evening or the Tuesday to the squad, and who was kind of running that fly half role. And the two of them were quite grumpy and and sour about the decisions most of the time, but they got on great together, and you want players to be upset when they're not selected. So, but you also want them, and I hope they're building a bond with each other, because they have to go and stay after training, do all the kicking, jump out of the taxi and back to the hotel, and so they've got to try and help each other as well.
If that comes out this way, though, say that's the right team, how does Jack Crowley feel? Not that it's about feelings, I know, but like in terms of like, what could he be doing differently?
I think he'd be frustrated and disappointed, because he started the window as well, the debate is put to bed. They were some of the headlines, even, wasn't it? Like after Leinster, Munster.
I actually don't think that's the way they're looking at it anymore. I don't.
No, but I'm saying that was the narrative, the headlines.
Yeah.
Well, all these journalists and sports writers who were 12 months ago talking about Sam Prendergast going to Australia with the Lions, actually were saying, oh no, Jack Crowley now is the debate put to bed. So the debate is obviously not put to bed, because you could in some ways starting Jack Crowley for the 4 games wasn't something that was going to happen. I think Sam Prendergast starting against Japan was something we expected, and then maybe to go back to Crowley. So maybe a 3-1 scenario with Sam Prendergast coming off the bench a few times. But look, we could go on and on about this. I think Jack Crowley would be very disappointed, Arthur, I'm sure, because he started the window with playing really well for Munster.
Let me run through the probable 15 that all the papers are going with here. I'll just read the Irish Times version. It's a replication of the rest. So it's the usual front three that we'd be well used to, the established trio of Porter, Sheehan and Furlong. So Paddy McCarthy goes out. Then the second row, we have James Ryan and Tyke Byrne. In the back row is Ryan Baird, Josh Van der Veer back in, and Quinlan Dara back to his, I guess, best position at 8. So Jack Honan on the bench. And then among the backs, so we have Gibson Park and Prendergast. The centres, ring rows will be partnered by Bundy Aki ahead of Robbie Henshaw, who is predicted to be on the bench. And it's the same back three in the win against Australia. So you have Tommy O'Brien, James Lowe and Mac Hansen. Now, Mac Hansen, not an absolute certainty by the looks of it there.
There's been the odd suggestion that Stockdale is looked at as the backup to him going into this game, which is kind of an odd thing. You don't really see that in the papers, that people will be explaining who the backup is should someone be injured ahead of a game. So there's been a suggestion that Mac Hansen may have picked up something during the week. Don't know yet. If you haven't said anything about it, so that's yet to be seen. We'll find out at 2 o'clock today.
2 o'clock today. So if it's not Hansen,
he hasn't trained fully during the week, particularly at the start of the week. So there's obviously some.
Jacob Stockdale is the name doing the rounds if Hansen doesn't make it. Full back.
Slightly surprised by that as well. Welcome note to me, but I would have thought Jimmy O'Brien would have been the first option of fullback, having played there more often than Stockdale. Stockdale, I think, last played there in December 2020 for Ireland, or late 2020 anyway. Played there for Ulster once this season, has played over the last few seasons the odd time, but not his natural position. But it was pretty obvious when he did play there against the Bulls in October that there was very much a mind to having him as an option in this window at fullback. But I don't know, we'll have to wait and see today to see what happens if Mac Hansen is fit or not. It would be a big blow to lose another fullback, third. This window really, with Hugo Keenan and Jamie Osborne both being unavailable. But look, it'd be interesting to see Stockdale back at full back for Ireland. It's been a long time since we've seen that. What do you think, Winnie? I don't know.
What do I think of? Well, first of all, Mac Hansen, he's big loss given his the footballing ability that he has and the threat that he has with ball in hand.
Yeah.
I think Australia were poor last week and they didn't test him or kick accurately enough. James O'Connor has been left out of the Australian squad, hence afterwards. But I just don't know about Jacob Stockdale as a full back. I think he's shown some good form with Ulster in the end of last season, most of last season to be honest, and very dangerous player with ball in hand. I think sometimes he frustrates me and has done over the years with, that kind of work rate and that energy that he can bring. But, exceptional player, very, very talented. Jimmy O'Brien, I think, is, I would have thought of maybe, he's probably more familiarity with playing at full back. But,
and having Leinster teammates either side of him as well.
I wouldn't even look too much into that. I think he's a very good player as well. But if you're kind of going down to your third, fourth choice starter at full back, shows maybe we have some depth in that position. There is some depth there, but
kind of what these
it'd be a big
windows
call
are
to
for.
go for Jacob Stockdale. But look, the other side of Mac Hansen would be a big loss, because I think that bit of a maverick style that maybe does ignite players around you, because he's going to do something different. He's going to and usually his decision making is really good, and he's a threat with ball in hand. So look, when you look at what South Africa will name in Colby and Aronson on the wings, the deception there, the ability to evade people is phenomenal, and we won't have the same pace as them. I know Tommy O'Brien probably has exceptional pace and is Ireland's speedster, but Aronson and Colby such dangerous threats there, and I think South Africa will kick and they'll test whoever's at full back as well. So it's
a little bit concerning having so many injuries in that back three as well, because as you say, the pace and the quality from South Africa and their back three, there is potential there to just completely pick us apart. You see, they do that to teams. My mind goes to 2019, the World Cup final, where Kobe just absolutely tore up England's back three, and that was a very good back three as well. So if we have a very disjointed, and
you need about three people to tackle him, and it's all about numbers, and if he can get someone one-on-one, the step-in ability is just sensational, really. He's just phenomenal. But both the wingers are, so you got to try and limit their ball and stay robust and kind of strong defensively, and manage the tempo of the game as well. And I think, look, it's a home game for Ireland. It's the reality here is, you have to at least get parity up front, and to have a chance against this team. Rassie Erasmus has never won with his Springbok team. Well, they've only played, many times they've played, is it 2 since 2017?
There was a 5-year gap. They played in 17 and 22 was the next one.
Ago,
a couple
3 years ago, So there's only a couple of games, 2 games, is it?
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of these South African players were played in that game in 2017, 38-3 to Ireland.
Yeah.
Or 38-5, was it?
38-3,
38-3, 35 points. So maybe that's the rivalry that maybe it stems back to then. That was a kind of a painful one. We can ask Stephen Kitsoff later on about that rivalry, but that was a strong team on paper in 2017.
Yeah. Hammered them.
So they've won everywhere, haven't they? They've won in New Zealand, Argentina, Twickenham, all over. He'll want to kind of
come in with a sense of
absolutely,
purpose.
We want to win in Dublin here and just kind of rubber stamp our authority, really, and deservedly. Well, they've been top of their game, for a number of years, and that performance in Paris 2 weeks ago, the performance in Wellington against New Zealand, 43-10, record score. One of the best teams, if not the best team ever, international team squad. Like,
It's hard to argue
I think,
against
yeah,
it,
when you think of who's the best squad that we've seen,
2015
from
All
Marta.
Blacks.
Yeah,
like that type of-
2011, 2015, that era. Yeah.
So if they're one of the best ever, if not the best ever, and if we win on this Saturday, we
Are
lose the
we,
heads,
are we
don't
the best
We're the
ever?
best
Yeah.
ever.
We're gone,
We're-
like the
we're
head's
the
gone.
best ever, yeah. We are the best ever. And then, you know,
So
so the South
here-
African fans then will just straight away pull the rug from out under us and say, well, you've never won a quarter final.
Yeah, that's all.
So if that stick is there, it's there. Just grab the stick.
I know, we
And
just
it's a
beaten
fact and
the
a
best
reality.
team of all time. Like,
No, I
it's amazing.
think, you know, when you go to, I've probably said it in 24, that summer tour after the World Cup, you think you're playing the world champions in South Africa, in Pretoria and Durban, at altitude, harder to win there, you would think, than maybe in Cape Town, which Ireland won a test in 16, that first test in 16. To win that second test in Durban was we needed it, in the sense of we're not completely broken here and we're not a million miles away, and that even though it's a test friendly essentially, which, you know, the non-rugby lovers mention a lot about, they're only friendlies. They won't be friendlies next year because we have a Nations League. It's going to be league points. But that win in 2024 was, we needed it at the time, and
that was the second of the 2-game series.
yeah. Lost the first one in Pretoria, and the second one won the game for all these drop goals at the end. I thought that first half for Ireland that day in Durban was an outstanding performance, and credit to South Africa, they came back and Pollard kept kicking penalties, and they got right back in, took the lead, and then
Loads
the
of
drop
players
goals.
injured that day as well.
I think that we could do one of those results on Saturday, and if we did, it'd actually do the confidence of the group a massive favour, in a sense of, well, here is one of the best teams ever, and yeah. So look, even if you don't win, I think you've got to go close here, and but South Africa are capable of putting, if they want. Now, of course, they will want to, but if they are in tune, they can blow teams away, and they showed that. That's the reminder. So Ireland will be very aware. They won't be underestimating, oh God, this is at home, we'll grind out a result here. They've got to play really well. If Ireland were to get a result, yeah, it's a massive confidence booster for a group that are being questioned a lot.
Yeah, because say if it's a close game, South Africa nudge it. How will we reflect?
There's no
on
shame
November?
in that, in a sense of,
How will
like,
we reflect on November?
because,
then?
but there will be kind of a bit of hysteria about, oh well, aging squad, and you know, we're
They're
on
the
the
greatest ever, though,
decline.
isn't it?
Yeah,
That's what you'd say.
well,
Oh, that's a body of work. Like, it's not like every day you have to be the best.
yeah.
They've lost, like, because there was a numbers were doing up, like, there was one of the English papers comparing that All Blacks team and the South Africa team.
Yeah.
And like the South Africa team have lost 16, 17 games or something in that run. I think New Zealand one lost like 3 in 50. But
And
like,
that's-
you're not kind of necessarily going, like, it's not open and shut just because of that, you know.
No, I think they've changed. Rassie Erasmus changed his team so many times.
They're
you
happy
know
enough
what I
to
mean?
lose some games
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
they have an aim.
And if you had the sort of depth that they have, you can maybe take a bit of a risk with some of that. And people often ask, well, why isn't there more changes, and why? And it kind of goes on to the ticket pricing conversation that was had yesterday by Kevin Potts, the CEO, and that issue was addressed. Financial stability is something that is a major priority here, and I think rightly so, in a sense of the structures, the funding of the game, right down to grassroots level. And it can be seen as an easy kind of narrative, but you just look at the way things have panned out in Wales in the last number of years, and that instability and revenue loss, the catastrophic effect and snowballic effect it can have. So the upside of financial stability and the IRFU being in this situation is you know, even during COVID, to be able to keep everything in order and keep the doors open essentially in the business. It's a business, but the ticket pricing is something that has kind of
let's get to
taken a
that,
fair
right?
bit of attention this week.
So the IRFU confirmed a deficit of €4.2 million for the year ending 31st of July 2025, although they are claiming to be in a robust financial position.
A deficit, but it's not a loss. It's not a...
Yes, because they have cash and cash investments of €62.6 million, no debt, and net assets of €81.6 million.
Yeah, so they haven't run at a 4.2 million loss in their books. Essentially, the number revenue has been down.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not catastrophic by any means. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was...
It's down, but it's not bad.
That was to do with the Rugby World Cup 2023 affected it because those November games weren't in the books essentially.
Exactly. That
do generate.
Now that conversation itself about those figures might be of limited interest to people. What would be of wider interest would be the ticket pricing, like you touched on there, right? So I don't know people out there going to South Africa this Saturday at the Aviva Stadium. That game, it'll be €160 for a Category A ticket, but probably more worryingly for the pockets of people is that the Italy game next year in the Six Nations, a Category 4 ticket will cost you €100. These are expensive outings, Quinny.
Very expensive. I grew up in Tipperary, and we would come to Dublin a lot as kids and teenagers. Not as much as adults, because I was involved in the game, but a lot of my mates would have. It was a kind of a traditional thing that you do at least one of the Six Nations games at home to the old Lansdowne Road, and that would involve train, not a taxi, because you wouldn't afford a taxi from Euston Station. You'd rather have a bottle of cider or something for that price of the taxi, or two or three maybe. Head over around Bagot Street, have a drink or two, go to the match, and a bag of chips afterwards maybe then, and back to the train and home. Pricey day even back then, but one that you'd kind of prepare for. But if you're a mum or a dad and you're bringing a couple of kids to Dublin in that situation, it's you're talking the price of a week in Spain, maybe, or you're Portugal in the summer. So look, it's a kind of a catch-22 with the way everything has gone, but they're very, very expensive. It's hard for people.
They won't go down, and that's the thing. They're never going to decrease the prices from here. If people pay it and they're going to go to the game, and they'll probably sell out the Italy game, or be close to a sellout. So why would they ever decrease the prices? It's going to hurt people. But if people continue to go,
it won't be decreased. Yeah, I don't know if they can or will. Then maybe they're conscious of this, and maybe the only way this will change is if you have a Six Nations game where there's 35,000 people at a game and there's 15,000 seats available. Which, look, if you look at what happens with Premier League football over in the UK, Colm, there's people going across there in flights on a Saturday morning and coming back Saturday night, and they're paying, father and son are paying 300-400 quid for a flight, for each flight, 700 or 800 quid. They're paying 300 quid maybe for a ticket.
That's a lifestyle choice.
They're playing I know, but I'm just saying, because there's so many people willing to do that, it doesn't change the price.
Yeah, that's what
so essentially, if you have a Ryanair flight full on a Saturday morning and Saturday night coming back, and those people are paying, that dad in that situation, because I've done this myself, is paying the guts of 15 or 1600 euro for that one day out, to say we've been in Anfield or we've been in Old Trafford or whatever, and the plane is full, and that they're willing to do that for the day. My point here is, you've obviously a massive corporate section, which, again, going back to the Roy Keane Prawn Sandwich Brigade, it's part and parcel of life now, whether you like it or not. And the corporates will buy tickets, there's season ticket holders. But then there's that situation of people who'll say, well, I'm doing the one Six Nations game and it is very expensive. So if you've so many of them and those empty seats are filled, well, it's full house, and it's constantly a full house, And I've been to a good few the soccer games in the last 10 years in the Aviva, and they're often empty seats everywhere. They're not sellouts. It's crazy. And people often kind of say that football is the biggest sport in Ireland. in a sense of what we saw. It captures the imagination at the weekend.
This week, yeah.
But rugby, whether you like it or not, it sells out. You know, so it's hard for if you're selling tickets to a venue, a night out in your pub or your restaurant, and you're charging top dollar, but you're selling out every time. Well, you're not going to drop your price to 50% drop.
Yeah.
Because you're still going to sell out. The only way this will change is if they don't sell out.
It's a tough one though as well, because the team branding is hashtag Team of Us. Doesn't really feel like it, because I know there's that argument. Obviously, they're not going to drop the prices if the demand
I'm sure
is there.
people will come in the comments here, Dara, from Cork, from Sligo, from your hometown, or from Galway, and you know, even up north, to say, well, it's not feasible for us to go down. It's a 8:10 kickoff for Australia last week. You know, we're not out of the stadium till 10:30, 11:15.
Yeah.
Okay, do we jump back in the car? Is it worth spending all that money that you can't go and have a few pints and have a night out? And then the hotel prices are astronomical. So I don't have the answer to this. It's just the way modern sport is gone. If you go to any sort of sport in the in America, Colm, have you been to the States?
Yeah, I went to a Boston Bruins NHL game.
Right.
Yeah.
How much were the tickets for that?
I can't remember, but it was grand.
It would be different.
That was my memory.
There's loads of them. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's maybe 5 home Ireland games a year at
They play a
most.
bunch of games.
Yeah.
And
What you mean though?
No, I mean some of the sport, the
If you
kind
go
of
to an
elite
NFL game or
stuff. Or you know, are the prices astronomical? How does this work in other sports in other countries? You know,
I think to your point, it's the lack of games, isn't it?
Yeah.
For rugby, I think so. I think they can do it. They can look. If people are paid, they can do it. And look, there's a reaction to this in the comments, like the word grotesque is being used to do with the pricing, and generally the terminology around rugby. To Dara's point there about hashtag Team of Us, like, and people are picking up on that in the comments.
Yeah.
But there's also, I guess, there's an acceptance of the reality of it, because when does an industry or a company or organisation lower the prices if people are already paying the price that they're charging?
Yeah,
So this is only going to go one way.
That's the problem. There is a certain number of student tickets available, and but then they go out to the clubs, they get snapped up. But a lot of the clubs, you know, they don't use their allocation. They may
sell them on.
They might sell them on, and they go to corporate stuff. But again, there's a market there that that people are buying up these tickets and they're using it. There's only, like, my point there about the one-off day of being able to go, oh, I'm going to pick one, and I can afford it, like the Premier League job. There's a certain number of that, but then there's a certain cohort of people who they can afford that, but there's a lot of people who can't do that day out, and I don't have the answer. If you drop down the tickets, so if the tickets are 100 quid for Italy, if you drop down to 50 quid, does that open the door then? Yeah, I'm sure it does, to people from outside of Dublin or outside of kind of the catchment area of Dublin City, to say, you know, I can bring a couple of kids now, 3 tickets, 150 quid, I'll drive the car in, we'll get the day out. If the student tickets to bring in kids, there's only a very limited number which are behind the goals, you know, so it's a tough one to kind of, it's very hard to say to the IRFU, well, you know, just drop the prices here. They're not going to, and they probably shouldn't really.
It's popularity as well, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's not like you're having trouble shifting those tickets, and it's not even. I don't even mean like from the point of putting it up or down, but it's just like, if you make it cheaper, it doesn't necessarily make it more accessible. More people might try and get it, but it doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get it. It's not like there's tickets there to be bought.
No.
Like you were talking about it last year, did you go to the France game last year? Was it one of the games last year? But it was through a club. Like, you have no chance of going into the open market to get one for
very little. Yeah, Italy there's always a few tickets left over, but apart from that, any of the big games,
it's more feasible to get
chance.
some. You know, even people asking me, can I get them a couple of tickets and stuff? That usually, you know, you have a bit more flexibility there. Like Wales, Scotland is. Not as bad. England, France are the two that
no chance.
You might as well kind of, you know, asking people
go higher.
Because they're just snapped up, and the English market will snap them up as well. They'll pay over the odds for them as well. So look, it's a story that's going to rumble on.
It is, Peter's Punts here saying Ireland have outgrown the Aviva. Has the demographics? Have you noticed demographics changing in the last 25 years yourself in terms of who's going to these games?
Well, I don't usually sit in. It's kind of rare that I'd be
I know, but
sitting
even
in
the
the
feed,
crowd.
even you're a cursory glance, and then you're in the crowd. You get a sense of it for sure, at least.
It's quite. I find it's quite a young crowd. It's like a trendy thing to be at it. But you do wonder then how are these people getting tickets, because like you could say we need to ring fence them more, but they are quite ring fenced in that people that play for clubs are getting them, but they're obviously being sold on. So it's kind of a thing. It's hard to regulate. But my frustration with it is that Leinster will play in the Aviva and they'll get like maybe 10,000 at it, maybe, and the atmosphere is terrible. And they don't even open
That's
up
for
the
a
upper
URC
tiers.
game. If the
Yeah, but
European
the thing
game
is,
now in
yeah, but
November,
then-
they can get to 35, 40, 50,000 depending. Yeah, the reality for rugby fans outside of Dublin, or even there's people in Dublin who wouldn't afford to, spend that, 300 or 400, bring a few kids to a game, and on the weekend it's mad. But I think players' salaries have gone up. The market has kind of increased and changed from my time playing, definitely. And so if you take 20 quid off the tickets, so the 160 quid for the weekend, is there a big difference in 140, 160, Art, or what do you think?
I don't know. Like, I still think it's not. It's the same, probably, people buying them.
You're just in a level
just
now
think it's
that's
just like
it can fluctuate up a little bit. I'm sure if maybe they will decrease them by that 10, 15.
It's like the GA. It's like the All Ireland final tickets going up. It's like you're never like final teams notwithstanding or whatever, like depending on. But more often than not, you're never failing to sell them off. But
What's the price of a ticket for All Ireland?
It's about 100 now.
100 as
more,
well.
yeah. It's gone up to 100, but it used to be. Definitely was 90, I think, until relatively recently. So it's gone up a tenner.
Yeah. I paid shy of €200 to watch Cork lose twice. Like,
Yeah.
It
But
is-
you like
that's
it
the reality.
could be three. It could be 300.
It
You
could
do
be,
it.
yeah. I think I don't know what people's attitude towards money is these days. I don't know if the tap culture makes it just make more fake. Because I just tap it, whatever, it makes the noise on the phone. I don't even look at it. Don't even look at the price.
Yeah.
And people are just
Or
paying
cash.
stuff for the experience. There's no cash being
Yeah.
exchanged.
If you're folding out the money, it's different.
It's different
But
when you see
in the
20s.
comments, can anyone tell us a solution, or do the IRFU? Because do they just cut the tickets back, and should a ticket be, what price should a ticket for South Africa be
Well,
at
you
the
said
weekend?
you-
Should it be €80? Like €80 is still a nice price for a ticket, isn't it? 80, €100.
Well, it's like anything under €100 these
Yeah,
days.
it's-
Like is grand for anything.
Yeah.
Even for gigs and stuff.
Pints and coffee aside, like that's about it.
But I think you're right. I think the thing you touched on, like even last week, said the tickets were extremely competitively priced for Australia. There's only so far you could come from. Like if you're going from Sligo, from my perspective. So if you're realistically going to have to go for a hotel, unless you want to drive down that night, sure, it makes no difference if the ticket's 30, 40 euro cheaper. The hotel's going to rinse you out anyway.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you hundreds. Cause
The thing, I think, for the 5:30 kickoff or the 2:30 kickoff on the Saturdays for Six Nations, it's more feasible for a couple of lads from Cork to come up and get the bus up or get the train up and say, "Do you know what, the 120, 30, 40,
Yeah, you make it.
it is what it is. We're going to have the pints. We're going to drop
Yeah.
300 or 400
That's
here
what it- that's
minimum."
what it is.
And they do that, and people still do that. My brother does it. His mates. So that happens. But I think it does help the likes of that person who wants to get to the international, that they can jump on a train or a bus to get home. You know what I mean? The bus is about 20 quid up from Cork for the day to do that scenario.
Yeah.
And the journey home is easy because they're like that in the seat. They're fast
Cozy.
asleep after a few pints.
Cozy.
I think it's in their best interest to make that happen, though, to get people from different places, because I don't think there's no doubt that the atmosphere would be better with lads coming down from Belfast or
definitely,
from
yeah.
Cork or
Yeah,
from Galway or
definitely.
wherever, like, because at the minute people are mentioning in the comments, like, it's a social event, really. You
Yeah,
hear people
but-
talking about
but-
where we go next,
And
like, as if
you're
it's like
focusing on
pre-drinks
ticket
or
prices
something,
here, like the absolute rip-off of hotel prices and
Exactly,
the
yeah.
price gouging that's gone on there is another part, a big part of that story as well, because
But it happens because people pay it. Like
this is it. It's
it's
the
Oasis.
market.
It's everything. It's like people complain, but then they silently pay.
Yeah.
People don't like the government and they vote for him. This happens all the time. Like this is people. They say one thing out here and then they do something else out there.
like that cognitive dissonance. You just have to exist in two different worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
I think before you move on,
Yeah.
Colm, the Franco Mustard red card.
Yeah. Go ahead.
rescinded.
Yeah.
I think that.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a bit of definitely South Africa was speaking this week, and they've last week and this week, and even go back to the Jan Henrik Wessels thing with against Connacht. The groin area grabbing
Murphy.
and Josh Murphy and that situation. I think they feel like they're getting a bit of a kick in the last few weeks in those situations. I think the Jan Henrik Wessels one, again, I was very surprised that you can suspend someone for 9 weeks when you've no camera evidence. It's based on testimony, going right back to that game with the Bulls. Yeah, there was some sort of a grab or something like that, and he got 9 weeks. Then you've Lou Diager sending off against France, and then Mostert gets a permanent red, Franco Mostert against Italy last week. I genuinely thought Franco Mostert's tackle was 100% player, bent at the hips, trying to make a legitimate tackle. Contact here, arm comes up a little bit. Really poor decision. I think it was to go straight red there. And I've probably been saying it, we haven't seen straight reds until this window.
I was only
And
asking you a few
in-
weeks ago, what's it take to get a straight red?
These are the
We've seen it
first kind of
twice.
straight reds that have happened.
Yeah.
And that
What
should
was
be
it? Was it a yellow for you?
maximum a yellow.
Oh, okay.
And even a penalty, and saying, well, like, I'd say yellow because you don't get a clear wrap, but the contact is here, and it's the impact that comes up. It looks worse. I think in that situation, the referees have to. That's one that goes. Send that away for to be assessed, and if it's upgraded to a 20-minute red, then well, that's fine. The bunker has found different angles, or they've a chance to breathe. But the whole reason was to send it to the bunker so that you kind of get it right. But I think it was a very poor decision and an unfair one on Franco Mostert. He's cleared to play this weekend, to be involved with the Springboks. The reason I'm talking about that, we have one in the Japan-Wales game again. Harry Hawkins was got the 20-minute red card. Again, it's a chest contact, wrong decision, rescinded as well. So we now have a couple of incidents in the last number of weeks. We have the Tygburn one, the Harry Hawkins one, and the Franco Mostert one that have been rescinded. I understand that these things they're difficult, and the reason we've had the bunker in rugby is to give that bit of a chance to assess it more. But in the last 2 weeks, we've seen 2 straight reds. The Lou Diager one, I don't know what you think, Dara. I think
It was weird.
the French
it
one,
could
is
have
it?
been.
Yeah.
I think it was 20-minute red card anyway. To go up to the permanent red was,
Ramo didn't get HIA.
yeah.
He never went
Didn't go
off,
for it,
no.
right?
Yeah.
But it looked vicious. It looked like, I was like, that's a record. You know, he took his head off.
Yeah, he's down on his knees. They found, to go to permanent red, you have to find no mitigation. There was some mitigation, the Ramos one. I think it was a 20-minute red card, that one. I understand it's gone up to the permanent red. Not so much an issue with that, but the Mostert one, how they get that wrong, and the Harry Hawkins one. What has to happen here, I think, one little tweak they have to have in this is try and be quicker about it, number one, but also give the TMO bunker the option of giving the permanent red.
Yeah. I wonder if there was a bit of
So-
pressure. There was a lot of criticism on referees of relying on that too much, of just giving the yellow and then waiting to see what the bunker did. Maybe there was a bit of pressure on referees to,
Yeah,
give
there's
that
not-
straight
like,
red. And
look, there's not a conspiracy here against South Africa. I think some of their
No.
fans would like to think maybe at times that they're being punished because
That was
they're
my
the
next
best and
question
try
for you,
and hold them
actually.
back. I don't think that is the case. So let's talk in reality here. But I do think the Vessels one and the Jaeger Mostert, there's 3 there that maybe you start to think, God, there is a bit of this isn't in going according to
Yeah.
plan. World Rugby headquarters is here in Dublin, so that's why Tygburn got off. But look, the Tygburn one was,
Clip
you go back to it again. So I'm glad Franco Mostert, because the bigger picture here is these decisions have to be right. So in simple terms, you go penalty, yellow card that the referee can give if it's cynical play, yellow card for the review if he thinks that there was head contact, 20-minute red card that the bunker can give. but the only person who can give a permanent red is the on-field referee. So I think we need to give that power to the bunker as well now, that they can decide, look,
Yeah.
I think that there's huge force in this, that it was cynical, that there's no mitigation, and that he can tell the referee, look, this is the red card is going to stay a 20-minute red card.
Okay, so 2 o'clock this afternoon, Ireland and South Africa will name their teams, and at midday today, the Republic of Ireland will find out who they play in the World Cup qualifier on the 26th of March next year. It will be either Czechia, Poland, Slovakia, or Wales.
Who do you want?
I would take Wales.
All right.
It's away, no matter what. I'd love
yeah.
that Wales game. I would love it.
Yeah, I saw someone put up a couple of flights last night. It was about 50 quid
It's
to go over.
only over the road.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
it.
but it won't be if
3,500 they gave us in Cardiff that night a few years ago. So that could be the biggest allocation that we'll get as well out of the 4 sides. So that's another thing to
Would
to
you
note.
pay 160 to go to
I
that
don't know.
match?
We could pool it in together, the 4 of us, for one ticket.
No, I'm not doing
Zarantia, lad. Zarantia, just before we move on, so we'll talk with Kieran Cunningham about this later, but what an impact Quinny he had in Irish boxing. It's amazing. From Georgia,
Yeah.
came over without a word of English, but he took his first training session and they all realised this guy is a genius in terms of how he coaches. He presided over 10 Olympic medals and 154 medals in total at elite level, stepping away after 23 years.
Yeah, and the great thing for his legacy is you hear a lot of the boxers over the years talking about the impact he's had on them, and that's the nice thing as a coach, if you're involved, that people can speak fondly of you. In any sport, you don't have every player doesn't love every single player in the group doesn't love every coach,
Yeah.
you know. But I think he seems to have a great affinity with these boxers. The success that he's been involved in was at 154 medals,
It's
Yeah.
outrageous.
competition
It's
medals.
crazy.
For such a small country, and then obviously the Olympic medals are incredible highs. I think it's kind of blindsided people a little bit. Maybe they've known behind the scenes for a while that he was going to step down, but like anything, it can be relentless, it can be fatiguing, you can get to a point where he said, is he 6 or 8 grandchildren that
Six,
he
I
wants to
think,
spend more time with them. But yeah, he leaves with a brilliant legacy, I think, and he's highly thought of and respected in the game. And it's some story to come with no English here, and 22 or 3 years later, you know, he's home now. This is where he lives, and this is where he's going to stay. And
sea swimming in Bray, that's one of his
sea swimming
hobbies.
in Bray.
Chess is another, so the technical aspect of him is
Yeah.
there for all to see. Yeah,
so
brilliant
he's
career.
had a brilliant impact
I always
on
felt
Irish boxing, amateur boxing.
Before we move on, I always felt watching fights or whatever fighter it may be in the amateurs or the Olympics or whatever it was, you always felt a bit reassured when you saw him in the corner. Like you always felt a bit of confidence
Yeah, I
in
like
that fighter.
It's good. I like that. Yeah, it's
It's
a good
just a
point.
constant figure.
Paternal as
Right.
well. There was something
Exactly,
paternal
yeah.
and professional
Yeah,
about him.
yeah.
Exactly, yeah.